Today, we're doing more than just learning about the nervous system. We're going to explore its complete blueprint, from that very first single cell all the way up to the complex circuits that run our entire lives. So let's dive into our architectural tour. So this is the big question, right? How in the world does biology pull off its most incredible construction project? We're going to follow this story right from the ground up, starting with that one little cell and watching as it builds one of the most complex structures we know of. So, where does a grand design like this even begin? Well, like any great origin story, it all starts with a single, incredibly potent cell, the neural stem cell. You can think of this as the master blueprint from which every other part is going to be built. This slide really breaks down the hierarchy of how a cell finds its purpose. We start with that embryonic stem cell, which is amazing because it can keep making copies of itself or turn into almost anything. But then it starts to commit. It becomes a precursor cell, its options narrowing. These precursors then generate what are called blasts. Think of them as trainees, already on a path to a specific career. And finally, those blasts make their final choice. They specialize into either a neuron, which carries the signals, or a glial cell, which provides all the essential support. And here's a great visual of that whole process. You see the self-renewing neural stem cell right at the bottom. It can either copy itself or it can send a daughter cell down one of two main paths. One path creates a neuroprogenitor, which, you guessed it, gives rise to our neurons. The other path creates a glioprogenitor, which makes all those critical support cells like astrocytes and oligodendrocytes. It's just a really elegant and efficient way to build something so complex from a single starting point. Okay, so now we have our specialized cells. The next thing to appreciate is their design. In neuroarchitecture, cells aren't just generic little blobs. Their actual shape, their structure, is perfectly and beautifully tied to the exact job they have to do in the network. And that core idea, form follows function, that's the absolute key to understanding why we have so many different types of neurons. This is a perfect illustration of what I mean. Take a look at this unipolar neuron. You see how it has just one single process coming off the cell body? That creates a direct, uninterrupted highway for information. That makes it the ideal structure for a sensory neuron, whose job is to shoot a signal, like touch or pain, from your skin all the way to your central nervous system as fast as possible. No detours, just pure speed. Now contrast that with the multipolar neuron. Just look at that huge branching tree of dendrites. This shape isn't built for a simple one-way message. No, its form is built for integration. Its job as a motor neuron or an interneuron is to listen to signals from many different sources, process all that input, and then fire off a single calculated command, like telling a muscle to contract. Its shape is perfectly adapted for gathering and crunching information. So, we have our specialized cells. The next level up in our architectural plan is how we organize these individual workers into massive functional tissues. And that brings us to gray matter and white matter, the fundamental infrastructure of the whole system. This division of labor is absolutely fundamental. The easiest way to think about it is like a computer. Gray matter, which is packed with all those neuronal cell bodies, that's your processing centers. It's the CPUs where all the thinking and computing actually happens. White matter, on the other hand, is made of all the long axons connecting those processing centers. It's the brain's high-speed fiber optic network. The fatty myelin sheath that wraps around the axons gives it that white color and also acts as an insulator, making signals travel incredibly fast. And this brain scan gives you a perfect visual. You can clearly see that outer layer of gray matter, the cerebral cortex. That's where all the high-level processing happens. And then deeper inside, you see all that white matter, the massive network of cables connecting everything together into one seamless, integrated system. So the functional unit of this white matter network is called a tract. Think of it as an information superhighway. When scientists talk about something like the optic tract, they're talking about one of these major highways, a huge bundle of axons all dedicated to carrying visual information from your eyes to your brain. Okay, let's put all of this together now and look at a true masterpiece of neuroarchitecture, the spinal cord. It's the perfect case study to see how all these pieces, the cells, the tissues, the organization, come together to create real function. Looking at this cross-section just reveals this incredibly clever design. Right at the core, you have that butterfly-shaped gray matter. That's the local processing hub. The horns at the back, the dorsal horns, are where all the incoming sensory information arrives. And the horns at the front, the ventral horns, are where the motor neurons that send commands out to your muscles live.
And all around that processing core is the white matter, full of the tracks going up to and down from the brain. Now, this organization is not random at all. It follows a very strict fundamental rule called the Bell-Megendee law. And what it says is that the flow of information is basically a one-way street system. All the sensory information comes in through the back door, the dorsal roots. And all the motor commands go out through the front door, the ventral roots. This clean separation is one of the most important organizational principles in all of neuroscience.
Okay, so we've seen the elegant architecture, but how does it actually do something? Let's trace a signal through one of the simplest but most important circuits we have, the reflex arc.
Let's walk through this. Imagine you step on a sharp rock. Ouch! Instantly, a sensory neuron sends a danger signal racing up into the spinal cord through that back door, the dorsal root. Inside the gray matter, it talks to a little interneuron, which is like a simple switch. And here's the brilliant part. Without even waiting to ask the brain what to do, that interneuron immediately activates a motor neuron in the front horn. That motor neuron fires a command straight out the ventral root, telling your leg muscle to contract and pull your foot away. It's a lightning-fast protective circuit that all happens locally.
So why is this strict, segmented organization so important? Well, clinically, it's huge. Because of this map, a neurologist can figure out the exact location of a spinal cord injury just by figuring out where a patient has lost feeling or movement. A loss of sensation in a specific patch of skin, called a dermatome, points right to the damaged spinal level. It also explains strange things like referred pain. You know how heart attack pain is often felt in the left arm? That's because the sensory nerves from the heart and the arm plug into the same segment of the spinal cord, and the brain gets confused about where the signal is really coming from.